school, this is the live that you want to watch, because I'm going to give you a very actionable few tips to get started, and also to give you some ideas of how you can help your child at home. Because honestly, that's really the key here, is getting started at home before your child gets to school. A lot of the work that I do with my clients, we have to go way back before the meal even starts. In fact, yesterday in my small coaching group, we were talking about how to set up a successful dinner. And guess what? It had very little to do with the actual dinner. Like, yeah, there are techniques and strategies that happen at dinner time as well, but there's a lot of stuff that has to go into it before you even get to dinner, like things that start in the morning and earlier in the day. And that comes down to some conversations that you're going to have and positive exposures that you're going to help your child have. So when we're talking about lunches and school lunches, your child is, think about when you are at school, you're excited, you're with your friends, you're distracted, you might be feeling like something may have happened that was upsetting that day. You might have had a fight with a friend, something might not have gone well with, at school with a teacher or something. So you don't know what your child's nervous system is going to be doing. Chances are they're on high alert. And so they may actually have some suppressed appetite when they're at school. Not all children, but if you've got a child who's a picky eater, they may experience some depressed appetite at school because of all the other things going on. And then they look in their lunchbox and they're like, oh God, I don't want to eat any of those things. So depending where you're starting at with your picky eater, the first thing that I want to suggest that you do is have them come in and help you pack their lunch the night before. Even write down some ideas of what they would be interested in having for school lunches. I'm not saying that they're getting a hot dog every day or whatever, chicken nuggets every day. That's not what I'm suggesting. If you haven't watched the Mealtime Rolls video on my YouTube channel is Family Snack Nutritionist. It is one of the top 5 videos. Go and watch it. It'll change your life and make mealtimes much less stressful for you, because you will be very familiar with what your roles are at mealtimes. So have them come in and help you. Write down a list of foods that they are interested in taking to school. You don't want to send them with really challenging things right away, because they're not going to eat it. If someone packs you something for lunch that you've never eaten before, chances are you're not going to eat it because, well, you've never seen it before, or it's the first time that you've seen it in a long time, and you're going to look at it and go, I'm just going to skip that. So do yourself a favor and don't give them something that you know for sure that there's no chance of them eating. So that's the second tip. First tip is getting them into the kitchen to help you. Actually, it was the third. Then the second thing was having them write a list. Like, sit down and write a list. Like, let them brain dump everything out, even if they are putting in there things like chicken nuggets and hot dog and, all the things that you're not planning to pack them, or you might only pack them a small amount of, like gummies or this thing or that thing. Write it all down so that your child feels like they've been heard and listened to, and you can still incorporate some of those things into their lunch, even though it's not going to be their only thing that they're having for lunch. For more help with this, by the way, if you don't know, I do have an online course called Mealtimes Without Meltdowns. And this month only, since it is back to school in the US, when you purchase either that course by itself or the bundle with stress-free sweets and eats, if you have issues with your child only wanting to eat sweet foods, which usually goes hand in hand with a picky eater. If you buy the course bundle or you buy Mealtimes Without Meltdowns on its own, you will get access to a special video that is about back to school lunches, and it's this month only in August. And the link to that is in my bio. So the next tip, first of all, you've had your child come in and help you pack the lunch. Second is you've written down a list of all the things that they're interested in possibly taking to school. Third thing is that you're not going to send something that is so challenging that they are not going to eat it. So what I am going to suggest to you is to send something a little bit easier for them. And that's not ideal, get it? Like, maybe chicken nuggets is something that they will eat, and we do want them to eat something. We also want to send them something that's a little bit challenging, but you can work with that based off of what they had you write down on that list. So you're going to go through together with them. This is all of these tips that I help my clients with and that are in my courses are all about bringing you and your child closer together, because oftentimes when you have a picky eater, it is so stressful and so uncomfortable at mealtimes and around food that it can really drive a wedge between the two of you and really impact your relationship. I have seen this with my one-on-one clients and my group clients in particular. One lady, she was one of my first clients, had a 10-year-old daughter, and we worked together for about 9 months. And the amount of change in their relationship, like, I'm telling you, initially they would hardly ever hug each other unless mum asked for a hug. And at the end of our work together and throughout our work together, the 10-year-old daughter had asked her mum to put her to bed, read her a book, and she was asking for hugs like often. And mum was like, I had no idea that this was impacting our relationship so much. So like, if you walk away with nothing from this live, just walk away knowing that when you work to like, think about working together with your child, because there's nothing more important than your relationship with your child. Not even broccoli, nothing. Thank you for sharing the live. There's nothing more important than your relationship with your child. And you're going to have a better relationship with your child if you have an open, honest conversation about things. So those are the first 4 tips. The next, and this is probably the most important tip that I'm going to give you after you've gone through the other things, is to practice the foods that you want to send your child to school. Practice them at home first. I'm going to say that again. Some of the foods that you want to send for your child, if you are quite sure that they're not going to eat them, make them together at home before you send them, and allow you and your child to eat them before they get put in the lunchbox. So this can look like a few different things depending on what your situation is, how much time you have to devote to this, etc. I would say I'm going to give you the gold standard example that would probably help your child the most, but that's not to say that doing it in a different way is not going to help your child either. So if you have the time to do this, and it's okay if you don't, because a lot of the parents that I work with don't have time to do at this level, but I'm going to give you the most in-depth answer. So I would have your child come into the kitchen, and I would say, so for example, let's say you wished you could send them a ham and cheese sandwich that had some lettuce and tomato in it. Okay, I would say that covers multiple food groups. We've got some meat, we've got some cheese, we've got bread, whole wheat bread, hopefully, and we've got some vegetables, we've got lettuce, and we've got tomato. Have them come into the kitchen with you. Let them know what you're planning on making. We're going to have this today with our lunch. Okay? That way, this gives you the opportunity to gauge how they're going with this experience, and then you can add other things to go with your lunch. So why don't you start off by making a half sandwich? So with one slice of bread, cut it in half and make the sandwich together. Have them slice something. Have them wash the tomato. Have them peel off the lettuce. Have them put it into the sandwich. And if they are like, if your kids are like some of the clients' children that I work with, they might be yelling, I'm not going to eat that. I don't want that. I don't want that. This is very normal. This is your child exerting their autonomy and telling you they are afraid. I'm afraid you're going to make me eat this. And I'm telling you, I don't want to eat it. So all you need to do here is even take a step back, pick them up if they're okay to be hugged, sit down on the floor and tell them, do you think I'm going to make you eat this? I'm not going to make you eat this. We're going to make it together. You don't have to eat it. Some of it can go on your plate if you want to, but if you don't want it on your plate, it can go on my plate and you can watch me eat it. Let them know that they have autonomy over their body, because they do. In fact, one of my clients yesterday in my group messaged me. She said that she has a lot of friends whose children are very good eaters, but their parents make them try a polite bite or a no thank you bite. Do I recommend that? I absolutely do not. Thank you for sharing the live. I absolutely do not recommend this. And you know why? The mum actually answered the question for herself, because she said her daughter, who's 4, she said, if I did that, insert daughter's name, Jennifer, that's not her name, but Jennifer would go absolutely mental. Yeah, she would, because you are totally stepping on her autonomy. You are telling her, you have to put this in your mouth and eat it. That is a very intimate thing, to put something in your mouth. It is. You can take that any way you want to, but it is. If you don't want to put a snail in your mouth and I tell you you have to take a polite bite of that snail, that is majorly stepping on your body autonomy. There's this huge movement now, which I definitely am part of, where I do not force my children to give physical connection to somebody. You do not have to give grandpa a hug. You do not. That is your body. That is your body. And if you do not want to give grandpa a hug, you do not have to give grandpa a hug. Why should it be any different about someone putting something in their mouth? Think about it. Don't recommend it. All right. So back to the steps we're going to make this sandwich together. We're going to have our child come into the kitchen and help us prepare it. We're going to make it a fun experience. We're not going to be talking about like, oh, this lettuce is really healthy. This is so good for you. You should try some. We're not going to do that. I'm way overselling it. You're not going to want to eat it if I'm doing that to you. We're just going to be very matter of fact and descriptive about what's going on. Oh, that was a really crunchy piece of lettuce. Or, oh, that tomato, the seeds went everywhere. How about that? We're just going to narrate the situation. Now we've skipped forward, we've made our sandwich. Ask the child, would you like to put it in your lunchbox? Go get their lunchbox out of the pantry or wherever you keep their lunchbox. Or would you like to eat it on a plate? Give them the option. This is a place where they can have some autonomy and have the option. Which one would you like? If they want, and you can say, you know what? It might be a great idea to eat it out of your lunchbox, because imagine if you were at school one day and I packed this for you. You would know exactly what it is because you've already seen it in your lunchbox. Interesting? Give it a try. See what they do. If they want to have it on a plate, great. When it comes time, because you've made the sandwich now and you've come time to eat it, if they are still like, I'm not eating it, no way, no how, ask them, is there something that we can add to this, do you think? Maybe some ketchup, tomato sauce, if you're in Australia, or the UK, maybe some mustard, maybe something else. Maybe there's a different spread that they'd be interested in adding. Great, add it, put it on the side of the plate, dip it in, give it a try. I'm looking at you, parents. Give it a taste. Even if it's like you have no interest in dipping it in ketchup, use this as an experience. Oh, I've never had this dipped in ketchup before, but I'm going to give it a try. That is ultimately what you want your child to do with a new food. So that's exactly what you should do to model that to your child. So those are my tips. Those are 5 tips about how to help your child enjoy and eat their lunch at school, for back to school, or even if you just have a picky eater who is already going to school or is in year-round school but is not eating their lunch. That is very much what I'm going to recommend. So those are the 5 tips. I am going to do a few minutes of Q&A. So if you have any questions, if you're on Instagram, tap on the little bubble with the question mark so that I can read the questions and I will do some answering. And I want to remind you, if you've just tuned in, my online course, Mealtimes Without Meltdowns, this month only, in August, when you buy it or you buy the bundle with Mealtimes Without Meltdowns and the sweets course that I have, you will get a special bonus video for back to school and helping your kids with lunches. I let my grandkids decide contact, sometimes a hug, sometimes a fist bump, sometimes a dirty look. Yeah, that's great. Because if your child doesn't want to give you a hug, well, it's their body, and we want to teach children that they have ownership of their body. Did I miss the beginning of that question about protein? Let me know. If you've got any questions, pop them into the comments on TikTok or in the question box if you're on Instagram, the little bubble with the question mark. Would you suggest to include play in mealtimes? Yes. I'm not sure what your definition of play is. You can give me an example if you like. But yes, I do very much recommend making mealtimes as fun and low pressure as possible. And one of the ways to do that is through play and getting down truly on their level and being silly with them. I do have some videos on YouTube with some guidance about that. One of them is about popping peas, for example. So if you've got, green peas and you put one in your mouth, if they're cooked just the way, you can put them in your mouth and they'll make a little popping sound. And you can ask your child to listen, can you hear mine popping? And you can even put in a funny face. Hey, do you want to hear my pea pop? Put it in your mouth. And I'm all about like being so silly that like I'm going to get all up with you. And I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to put the pea in my mouth. Ready? Listen, listen, listen. Did you hear it pop? That kind of silliness, that kind of playing games. We're not going to have races of who can finish their plate first. Nothing like that. So let's see. Thanks for sharing the live. My kid doesn't like certain textures at times. We still have to give him puree and he will only eat while being on a table or watching TV. Okay, so I have a lot of clients that start with me who they're like a number of my group clients from this group and my last group actually would put their kids. They would only sit and eat if there was some sort of a distraction like YouTube, TV, or screen or something. And in the first week, we removed that, and we noticed big improvements because we want children to know what's going on with them. If your child's eating but they're distracted, well, they're not really eating. Like, yeah, they're putting the food in their mouth, but that's not the long-term solution. That's not what you want happening in the long term. For the child with texture issues, I'm not. How old is the child that's only eating that prefers purees? Because if we're talking about a baby, we want to see babies past purees. If you've decided to do purees traditional weaning, we want to see babies past purees and into different textures pretty quickly, like within a month. Child low iron due to lack of food diversity. Doctor pushing to get them to eat more red meat. I'm watching from the UK. I want to thank you for explaining so good. Oh, you're welcome. So for the child with low iron, we definitely do want to increase food diversity. Please focus. The quickest, easiest tip I can give you is to focus on putting a iron-rich food at every single meal or snack opportunity. That doesn't mean they have to eat it. Don't force them to eat it, but it should be there on their plate as an option. That could be as simple as adding chia seeds to something like yogurt, or it doesn't even have to be red meat. Tofu has iron in it. Legumes have iron in it. Peanut butter has iron in it. Part of the Mealtimes Without Meltdowns course is I've put together a really nice, you can print it out, some nutrient guides of high iron foods, high zinc foods, high calorie foods, because every iron source has protein. Not every protein source has iron. So please worry less about protein, worry more about putting something with iron on their plate. For the child who eats nothing, seriously, you've got to reach out to somebody like me. It doesn't have to be me. But if your child is really not eating, there's most likely some kind of reason that they have a food aversion that you need to work on. Like, in no way, shape, or form is this something that you should ignore. If you already are here because you know it's a problem, you need to reach out for help because what you've already tried isn't working. What about toddlers that won't eat any meat, even chicken? Should I be concerned? Well, do they eat it in different, like, would they eat it in a different form? For example, like minced, if it was like as a meatball, as a patty. There are many different ways because meat can have many different textures depending on how it's prepared, like minced, stew, like the meat actually being minced, and then you can, like, there's so many ways that you can cook it. You can barbecue it, you can put it in a stew, you can slow cook it, you can shred it. There are so many different ways. I have 2 clients at the moment that when they started working with me, their child wouldn't eat any meat, no chicken, and the parents mostly eat chicken. They don't really eat a lot of red meat. But since we've started working together, it's only been a couple of months, this child has eaten chicken reliably, regularly, even asked for it after not wanting to eat chicken for she's 7. She's also eaten sardines because one of the big things that mum wanted to work on was more fish in the diet. She ate sardines and she's eating them regularly and she wants to eat them. And the other thing is that they have eaten steak, and we've come across, because there was a texture issue with the steak, and we were able to identify that issue and help her out by changing the texture of it so that she could eat it, and she is eating it. So yes, I hear a lot of that. My child doesn't like to eat meat, and I want to let you know that don't rule it out. Don't be like, oh, my child doesn't eat meat, I'm just never going to serve it. You've got to change up the way you're serving it, change up the way it's like prepared in the sense of shredded, minced, ground, depending where you are in the world, with different sauces and things like that. Because I want to let you know, I've had clients that started working with me that don't eat any meat, and now they do eat meat. So it's not a lost cause by any means. All right. I've got a lot of questions here on TikTok. What if you can't get them to eat anything? Okay, like I said at the very beginning of this live, it's not your job to get your child to eat things. Remove that word from your dictionary. You are not trying to get your child to eat. That is not your job. You can help them eat. You can help give them opportunities. You can help facilitate learning opportunities and exposures. It is not your job to get them to eat. I do have more longer form videos on my YouTube channel about how you can help your child try new foods. And also my online course, Mealtimes Without Meltdowns. It's my best-selling course. If you're also struggling with sweets, buy the course bundle. This month only, when you either buy Mealtimes Without Meltdowns or the course bundle, you will get access to a special bonus video for back to school and lunches and helping your picky eater eat their meals at school. Wow, I would love to get some help. I have tried different ways, but she will not eat it. You know what you can do is send me a DM. You're already on Instagram, so just send me a DM. Let me know that we just talked in the live. I will give you the information for my next small coaching group. My next small group, we're halfway through my current group. My next group starts in September. I do have pre-registration open early, and there is an early bird bonus special right now. So if you're interested in coaching because you're not sure that the course is going to be enough, you do get access to the course when you join the small coaching group. The small coaching group is 8 weeks, and we work together for the full 8 weeks with group calls, and we have text support online, which is kind of like a private chat where you can ask questions and stuff like that. It's a very high touch, high level of support. If you're not sure you need that, the course is definitely for you. You have access to it once you've bought it. You can go back and watch the videos anytime. It works out to be like $3 a lesson. Someone here saying, no eating dairy with iron sources. Yes, you absolutely can. Calcium and iron do compete for absorption, but typically, so long as the child is not consuming so much dairy throughout the day, like I had one child that was consuming 5 or 6 drinkable yogurts during the day, and that was their primary source of nutrition. Yes, that would absolutely cause problems with iron absorption. You can absolutely put iron together with calcium. Okay, this question stood out to me. I co-parent and 3-year-old's dad has gotten him totally hooked on biscuits. I don't know what to do. Firstly, to anybody who's watching, who's in that situation, I'm also in that situation, and I'm very, very sorry. It's very, very difficult to co-parent with some parents. My situation is very similar. My children come back to me often having eaten a lot of, quote, junk food during the day, which is completely the opposite of how we were raising them when we were married and together. And it's absolutely to sabotage you. And I'm really sorry that that is happening to you. What you can control, and trust me, this is still something I am very much working on because I'm only 6 months out of my marriage. And you can control when they're with you, and the rules are different. And I know it's very hard to explain that to a 3-year-old. It is okay to say, look, the rules are different here than with dad. My daughter actually just turned 4 2 days ago, so she was 3, and she was telling me that the reason she misses her dad is because she eats mint slices and ice cream with dad. You can't manipulate a child forever. And I know that really sucks. That's not the answer that you want. I wish I could make it better for you. I wish I could make it better for all the single parents out there who are struggling with this. Dad of 4 boys, sometimes they just don't want to eat. Leave it and come back later. No, not to come back later. You may have a problem with your schedule that your 4 children, by the way, wow, good for you. I hope you're okay. If they're not hungry, it could be that they're eating too soon after their last meal. That's quite possible. And if that's the case, try tweaking your schedule a little bit and make whatever that meal is a little bit later, half an hour, see how it goes. But if they don't want to come to the meal and you're eating, you sit down at the table, you eat your meal, you let them know, hey, this is dinner time. Your plates will be up here for the next 20 minutes and half an hour, however long it takes you to eat your dinner. And then as you're approaching the end of your meal, say 5 minutes to the end, you could say, hey guys, dinner, you've got about 5 to 10 minutes for dinner. I would say 5 minutes till dinner's finished. And I'll be putting away your plates. So if you want to come and eat, now's the time. Be very straightforward about it. All right, back to the 3-year-old who wants chocolate and biscuits literally all the time. You know what? It could be their way of saying that they miss their dad, which I know is fucking shit. Sorry. Lean into that. That's what I do with my daughter, who tells me that she misses her dad. I ask her, what do you miss about dad? Ice cream and mint slices. Oh, I understand, and I will tell her, I do have ice cream and mint slices here. And I say, we usually don't eat them because you've had them so much at dad's that we eat other things here. And look, I'm not, I still give my children the balanced diet that I have always given them, which does include other foods. Like sometimes we have biscuits and there's no lack of chocolate in my house. But I am aware of what's going on at dad's house, but I'm aware that I can't control that. And I do the best that I can when they're with me. And just know that that could be your son's way of asking you for a boundary, because put it this way. Let's just say your child is at dad's house and dad can't handle emotions. So dad puts them in front of the TV, or dad gives them biscuits to make them stop being upset. Your child, when they come back to you, has a lot of feelings that they have not had dealt with while they've been with the other parent. Your child asking for biscuits, knowing probably full well that you are not going to give them biscuits, is your child's way of saying, I have issues going on right now and I just need some support. So what you can do is you can say very gently, I know you want biscuits. They're not on the menu right now. We can have them another time. And then just sit with them through their discomfort, because chances are it's not about the biscuits. It's about something else. Just be there for them. How do you know if it's picky eating or something more? My child 6 has a fear of many foods. Well, if you're concerned that your child has ARFID, which is a diagnosed eating disorder, if you have full confidence in your general practitioner or pediatrician, if they are up to date with what ARFID is, I would ask them. Ask them to do an assessment for you, because if your child has ARFID, you need to work with, this is a highly psychological component to any eating disorder. So you need to get support for that. Depending what you mean when you say your child has fear of things, I work with a lot of children that have, I've worked with a couple that do have diagnosed ARFID, and I've worked with some that do not have diagnosed ARFID, but probably come close to fitting the criteria. So what you could do, because I'm not sure, when you say that your child has a fear of many foods, I'd like to know a little bit more about what that is. Please send me an Instagram DM or on Facebook, a private message, and tell me a little bit more. Tell me that we chatted on the live, and give me some more details about what that fear looks like. A baby vegetarian question. Do I recommend for a baby to be vegetarian? Look, that's a really loaded question and hard for me to answer in a live, because it depends on a lot of things, really. I do not generally recommend that anybody, including adults, remove total food groups from their diet. But sometimes there are reasons for that. It could be a religious reason. It's for some people, they are allergic to certain things, and that does restrict them from eating a lot of foods. So I would say, first of all, I can't give you a blanket answer because there isn't one. It depends on what your specific situation is and why you're putting your baby vegetarian. If there's not really a reason, there's no reason to have a baby be vegetarian. It is possible to meet nutrient needs. It is much harder to meet nutrient needs. That's what I'm going to say about that. Thank you so much for your honesty and understanding. That means so much to me. It is hard. It is really hard. Yeah, I'm really sorry you're going through it. Please know that you're not alone, and just be there for your child, because this is a really, think of what you're going through right now. I'm thinking about what I'm going through right now. What the kids are going through, they don't fully understand it, and they probably never will until they're much, much older. And your child does not know that they are being manipulated with food or TV or whatever the case may be, as most children do not know, but they will. This does not make me feel better either, but children do grow up, and children have really great bullshit meters. They can spot bullshit, and they will continue to spot it as they get older with more more understanding. That's what I'm going to say to that. All right, this is a great question to finish on. How do you raise kids with a healthy relationship with food if you as the parent are struggling with it? Oh, and another really great question. My child barely eats, been under a dietitian for 4 months, but nothing's changed. Okay, yeah, I do have tips. So 4 months. Look, I don't know, maybe send me a message and tell me what you've tried with the dietitian, because I've worked with a number of parents who have worked with other feeding professionals before working with me. For example, feeding therapists and OTs. I'm not saying that they're bad. They're not. I've met many excellent ones. I've also heard some horror stories from my clients who have worked with them in the past and have not had a very good experience because they have been told to pressure their child or force them to take a lick or kiss the food or whatever, and that just makes things worse. So if that's the case, 4 months is a reasonable amount of time. If you're working with me, I don't promise results in a week. It's not possible. But we do definitely see progress. I have some clients I have one client in particular who we're about 3 months in, and they are struggling. And part of the reason they're struggling is because they're having a hard time implementing what we're putting in. And in our last session, I had a very strong word with them, because in the end, I'm not in your house with you, and I can't make you put the changes into practice. If you go and give them a separate meal, even though I've asked you not to, and we've come up with a way not to do it, if you do that, you are sabotaging yourself. So when we work together, it's really important to me. Like I set the parents down and I said, we are committing to this. I want you to tell me that you are committing to this week, because it's very frustrating for me as well. I want to see you getting results. I'm just as invested in you as you are in me. And I want to see you get the results that you want. The only way you're going to get those results is if you trust the process and trust when I give you a suggestion and then implement it. Okay, so I want to finish up on the healthy relationship with food. So first thing with the dietitian lady who's seeing a dietitian, send me a message. Like, you can always send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook. Talia, that's my name. You can send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook. If you saw me in a live, tell me, hey, I saw you on your live. I had this question, and then send me some more details about your child, because that gives me a really good idea of what's going on and what program I can help you with. So some people will message me and they're getting started really, really early, and their problem is not super developed into a bad habit yet, in which case the Mealtimes Without Meltdowns course will probably solve your problems. Which is great, because it's the most affordable way. If you have more issues and you might need more support, which a lot of parents do, because it's hard to put these things into practice. You do have questions, more shit will pop up, or your child yells something at you and storms out of the room, and you try to implement what I suggested at the beginning of the live, but then it doesn't go smoothly. You have more questions. That's the benefit of working with me, either in a small coaching group or one-on-one. I will say that my one-on-one practice is quite full at the moment, and I have a wait list. The quickest way to start working with me and the most affordable way is in my small coaching group. So just DM me if you have a question about that. I will send you the link. Like I said, at the moment, I have the next small coaching group starts in September. If you pre-register for that now, there's a special, like an early bird special, where you get access to both my courses online right away, so that you can start working through them. And if you're not sure that you need small coaching and you just want to access the courses, they are online. You can go back to them anytime once you've bought them. It ends up being like $3 a lesson. And this month only, in August, when you buy either one course, like the Mealtimes course for picky eaters, or the bundle with stress-free sweets and eats, you get access to a special bonus video for back to school and school lunches. All right, so if you do not have a healthy relationship with food as the adult and you want to help your child have a healthy relationship with food, first of all, the fact that you're aware of that is a really, really big step. So be proud of yourself for already knowing that and wanting to work on it. So what I would recommend, and I do have some exercises for the parents specifically, because there's a lot deeply ingrained in our own brains and mindset from our childhood, things that family members may have said to us, messages that we've heard and seen online about, diet culture and going on a diet and whatnot. So my Sweets and Eats course has a lot of very powerful mindset exercises for the parent to work through. I want you to sit down and think about, where does this come from? When did I start hearing these messages that are unhealthy? Like, what you might find when you're identifying your relationship with food is unhealthy, think about what does that mean? Maybe write it down so that you can get really clear. For example, it might mean I have to exercise if I want to eat a biscuit or like a cookie. Why do I think that? What made you think that? And then write down what it is, and so that you can identify it and start to pick it apart. And then this will help you with your child. So one of the things that, like, I've had to work on this too, because I walk the talk. I put dessert on my children's plates, and I put dessert on my own plate too. Was not brought up that way, promise you. I think it's very strange still when I have a piece of cake sitting next to like my regular food. See, even in my own head I'm saying this, I'm like, it's all just fucking regular food anyway. I will sometimes eat the cake first. I won't eat the whole cake first. I usually eat some of it. If it's a cookie and they're small, sometimes I eat the whole cookie first. And then I go and have my, I don't know, pasta. And then I go back and get another cookie. Oh my God. That is very different than the way I was raised. It was always dessert after the meal, which is probably how 98% of us were raised. So we've got to work through our own bullshit as we're modeling it to our children. That's like a really, really big step. There's so much to work on. And I want to leave you with, you can work on it because you're the parent. You are the most important person in your child's life. You absolutely can make changes. Sit down and have a little think about them. If you tuned into this live late and you're on TikTok, I will be posting it on Instagram, so you can go back and watch it. There were a bunch of tips at the beginning and then a bunch of Q&A at the end. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have more questions and you're interested in coaching or the course link is in my bio. You can always send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook. Let me know that you saw me live, and let me know what's going on with your kiddo. We'll talk some more. I hope you have a lovely weekend, and I will see you soon. Bye.